Universal's they revealed their new theme park with the new rides and everything. You can ride a dragon.
And that's where we're starting. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line, as he does every week, to talk about movies, entertainment, and everything in between. Friends, it's Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. What's going on? I hit record at the perfect time there.
Hey, it's just How to Train Your Dragon. You sit on the dragon. It's like an adventure. Let's go.
Did you
it's
say
a lot of fun? Very fast.
Did you say sit on a dragon or on a dragon?
Sit on a dragon.
All right, with the voice and kind of like the muffled into the phone, it sort of sounded like on a dragon. I'm like, what kind of park is this?
It's the dragon hot ride. Well, you shit on a dragon.
Oh, Mike Reyes, how you been? Did you have a good week so far?
It's been a good week so far. How are you doing, B-sox?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into the world of movies. This week, we've actually got a couple reviews because apparently the movie world gave a shit for a little bit. The big one out this weekend is one that, what? Is it not? It didn't seem like they really cared last week to put out anything, right?
I'm sure everybody kind of figured maybe give Mean Girls another week and then sort of move in with something new. But again, it's January and we're in like post-strike January. So
yeah, I get it.
Although we won't be in January by the time everybody starts listening to this.
Yeah, because we're recording on a Wednesday this week. All right, so real quick, and I don't know why I said real quick because I actually want to spend some time on this. The big new movie out this week is Argylle. And
yes, it is.
There are a lot of layers to this onion. Let's start with the review part of it. Argylle, what do we think?
It's a lot of fun. Matthew Vaughn, the director of the Kingsman series, has created a franchise, a potential franchise if this keeps up. There's obviously plans, but, it's up to the fans to go out, see the movie, buy the book, which the book is not the movie. That's another thing I have to put out there. The book is Agent Argylle's origin story, and that's the character in the movie. That's not whatchamacallit. That's not Argylle could be something that we're going to be talking about for some time, especially because of the fact that there are just so many layers to this that I'm not even done deciphering yet. I just saw it last night. So I'm still I have so many notes I have to go through and sort of piece everything together, but it's a lot of fun. It's Matthew Vaughn sort of on a dialed back scale in terms of outrageousness and cheek, because obviously Kingsman is, that's R-rated all the way. There's so many different, there's more vulgarity to Kingsman than there is to Argylle, because I believe he mentioned in I think it was in the press notes for the movie. He's like, I was watching movies with my family during the pandemic, or during the beginning of the pandemic, and I wanted to make something for my daughters. And then I found this manuscript, and I loved it so much. And this unknown author has impressed me, and we've never seen her before, but I would like to adapt her movie in a meta twist. And that's sort of part of the layer cake of it all. Another Matthew Vaughn movie there. But it's certainly a lot of fun. Sam Rockwell he's sort of the MVP of this one because he gets a lot of really good comedy moments. You still have an amazing cast there, where like Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, and then in the book world you have John Cena, Henry Cavill, Ariana DeBose. It is very much a lot of fun, and I think this could be a good introductory spy movie for younger people who maybe are maybe turned off by the sort of R-rated outrageousness of Kingsman, because you remember how outrageous the Kingsman movie can go, especially that second one.
Yeah.
And also, it's you could have a family movie. Well, not so much a family movie, but you could take your teen kids to go see this. It's not It's not objectionable. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. That's cool. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now as we talk about Argylle. All right, let's peel back a couple of the other layers with this, because there are Taylor Swift's involved, or supposedly involved.
Of course, yeah.
I know. And I get it. But there is this part of the story where the author of the book is kind of mysterious. There are links to, maybe it's a Taylor Swift project of some sort. Can you make heads or tails of this?
As in a definitive answer, you mean?
Well, what's kind of the gist of the situation? Because I remember
So
we
the whole
talked
thing is-
about this a few months ago.
Oh yeah, because again, this was a project that was announced during the early days of the pandemic. That this unknown author by the name of Ellie Conway had a book coming out where this was her first novel. No one really knew who she was, and Matthew Vaughn just all of a sudden got. I mean, when I talked to him for The King's Man, he was like, "Oh yeah," I asked him like, "How did you get your hands on this so early?" And he's like, "Oh, I got a manuscript and, I really liked it and decided I wanted to make a movie where the author is getting confused with their own work."
Okay.
He doesn't really say it in that many words, but that was his gist. Was he wanted to take Ellie Conway's book, which exists in our world, and turn it into something meta in the film.
That word meta.
And I do not think Taylor Swift is involved in this. And I have a friend who is a Swiftie who does not think she's involved in this. Although I did get one of our people went out to the junket in London, and I did sort of throw that flag on the field there, where it's like, you should really ask him about that. And we have a pretty funny video with Cena on Cinemablend social pages, and there's like a whole write up about it where it's because of his whole Instagram thing where he like posts without reason, without captions. And he talks about that, and it's a short but sweet thing, and it's so funny.
John Cena is kind of amazing when it comes to being a performer.
He really is, and he's also as awesome of an interview as you'd expect, because I got to talk to him for that firefighter movie he did a couple of years ago, Playing with Fire.
Yeah.
And he's he's game for anything. His My Little Pony is Twilight Sparkle. And dude's insanely talented.
Going back to his Instagram for a second, John Cena, welcome to my Instagram. These images will be posted without explanation for your interpretation. Enjoy. 20.3 million followers, 0 following.
And he stirred the pot by posting a picture of Taylor Swift in an Argylle pattern dress.
Yeah.
So that stirred everything up. There was also, this wasn't a theory that caught on too hotly, but apparently some people thought that J.K. Rowling might have been Ellie Conway. Like there was apparently a theory that was circulating around TikTok, because someone was like, "Oh yeah, people think it's J.K. Rowling and they don't think the book's good." And it's like, to be completely honest, if you're writing a book like Ian Fleming's James Bond, like I'm not talking about like the outdated sort of social and racial stuff that's in the original text. But like if you're writing that sort of spy novel, I don't think your TikTokers are going to be in on that. They're going to like Argylle the movie more than they like Argylle the book, because Argylle the book is not Argylle the movie. You look right at the cover, it's like the book that inspired the major motion picture. And it's basically Argylle's origin story, like young Argylle first becoming an agent.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies and such. All right, so that kind of wraps up Argylle. Seems like it's going to be a good one. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
hey, one more question. One more question about it. You're saying that it's kind of the split world of like the book and then the real life version of it. If they do another series or whatever, which direction do you think they go? Do you think they go with the fiction world or the other fiction? I don't know how to say that right.
So do they go with the real story about Ellie Conway, or do they go with like adapting the Argylle books you mean? Yeah. Well, it sounds like both are in the air at the moment, because I've been glancing over other interviews Matthew Vaughn has done, and apparently he's talked about everything from a TV series to, I think they've already cast a young Argylle, and they want to do like a prequel. I don't know if it's a series or a movie, but they have like a young Argylle already picked out from the cast of Enola Holmes. I think his name is Louis Partridge.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's been cast as the young Argylle. I mean, there's a lot of potential. There's also in world, there's 5 books, because she's writing the 5th when we catch up with her in the beginning. And the first 4 are already released, and we've only got the first one. So there's also a possibility that I wonder if they already have them written, or maybe they just have brushstrokes that they can fill in later. It's like, we'll get to it when we do. But there's potential that it could just be a book series. It's a very multimedia sort of experience that could very easily go one way or the other.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. Moving over, I believe it was Netflix is coming out with Orion in the Dark.
Yes. Orion in the Dark it's a really sweet children's film that's based off of the book by Emma Yarlett. And it's about a young boy named Orion, played by Jacob Tremblay, who he's afraid of everything. He's the typical uptight and anxious kid that is afraid of his own shadow, is afraid of all these various different things. And he meets the Dark, voiced by Paul Walter Hauser, who tries to get him to not only not be afraid of the dark, but to sort of open up as a person.
Okay.
And it's really sweet. I wish this was actually going to a movie theater, because this looks like it would have been so much fun in 3D. And it's something that it's more of a middle school kids movie, because it's not totally, young little kids sit in front of this and just, passively watch. Like, this kid is afraid of death.
Wow.
And the rationalization he goes through, he explains his thoughts on what happens when you die, and it's like, wow, I remember being this kid.
What wrecked this kid?
It's very enjoyable, because it's going to be something that adults really identify with, but it's not something, it's not something passive that's just like, hey, cute and cuddly, enjoy, kids. It's like, this is stuff that really you could talk out with your kids.
Okay.
And of course, that comes from a Charlie Kaufman script, the man who gave us such films as Adaptation, Being John Malkovich, and other mind. No, seriously, the man is so good at mind. And I don't even, that is a compliment of that. Oh, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, of course. Who could forget that?
Oh, such a great movie.
It is. And that's 20 this year.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, that will be 20 on March 19th.
All right. With that in mind, hey, let's jump over to Ted 3 or Ted the series, because you finally finished it.
Well, we did talk a little bit about Ted 3 off air the other day, so I'm sure that's something we want to bring up again. But yeah, finally finished Ted. I want more. I absolutely want more of this series.
How great is the truck?
That truck episode, man. I think that was the Christmas episode, Loud Night, and yeah, that was a really good episode.
I love that. That's probably my favorite episode of the entire thing. I love the Ted thinking he's Jesus.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love you. Your move, Friar Tuck.
He has an apostle named John.
Yeah. I also love the Halloween episode.
Oh yeah, the Halloween episode was really good.
Those were.
And the finale is fantastic, because you've got going into this, everybody knew that there was going to be Family Guy and Orville people that Seth MacFarlane works with doing cameos. But then you have that cameo of Tim Russ from Voyager, Tuvok himself, as an ER doctor,
and
where John.
For some of you out there, you may not know this, and you probably know, but you know what Tim Russ is famous for?
What?
He was in Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah.
He was, what about you guys? We ain't found That's Tim Russ. That's our lovable Vulcan from Star Trek Voyager and all of this. I didn't realize that for the longest time, but that's his big deal. But no, it's just such a great series. And we were talking off air about it the other day. And I love that there is growth, but it's not like the Ebenezer Scrooge growth where it's like one day you're one way and then the next day you're something completely different. Like the dad, and I think it's a Christmas episode where he's like, I don't want to be that guy. And you can tell that he's not quite there, but he's trying.
Yeah, and like the way that he says sorry in the episode, where it's not just like, he really does struggle with it, and it's not just a simple, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also, just the whole, it's not a reset button sitcom, because that's the thing that was a trope that I think The Simpsons helped sort of hammer home and sort of name as like, it's just this whole thing where, these characters are never going to change. They're going to keep, Homer Simpson goes back to being Homer Simpson at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, next week he'll have not learned his lesson, and it's just gonna be, we're gonna get to see him do his thing again. And meanwhile with Ted, like, I was surprised by the level of continuity and just the refinement of comedy, because there's still some really funny jokes that show that, you know, Ted, Johnny, and even Johnny's father are not the most progressive people. But it's not as harsh about it as the movie was. And again, I really like Georgia Wiggum's Blair. I really like having her character in there, as well as Alana Eubach's Susan, where you have these other characters to sort of bounce John and Ted's shenanigans off of. That's the key to that sort of thing, and that's why I think this works so much better as a sitcom versus a movie. I mean, I'd still love to see a Ted 3, because I'd love to see where Blair happens to be now, and maybe his parents are still around, but Johnny's parents are still around. But I also wouldn't be mad if this just continues as a sitcom and maybe a half reboot, because of the fact that I noticed something after watching what I told you the other day.
Yeah. Because
so
now I can't.
You watch the beginning.
Now I can't stop thinking about it.
Exactly. So for the folks at home, Ted is set, it's supposed to be between 93 and 94. You see in the beginning of Ted, the movie, you see Johnny, played by Mark Wahlberg, grown-ass Mark Wahlberg, and Johnny and Ted are going to see Phantom Menace. So I'm assuming that's opening night. That's 1999. So Max Burkholder has 5-6 years to become Mark Wahlberg. And he's already... You can't. Growth spurt's off the table because the kid's already turned 16. So now that growth spurt's done, it's like, where's it coming from? What's he gonna do?
It's so true.
I don't understand it, Johnny. Why do you look like Mark Wahlberg?
Oh, it's so perfect. It really is.
I know. It's like I don't care about the continuity of it all. It's just a question I have, because it's like I want more Ted. And Seth MacFarlane, if I'm not mistaken, has said he would do more if the fans wanted it. And this was the most watched Peacock title in its first weekend. I think it might be safe to say people want more Ted.
Absolutely. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. All right, so moving down the line, let's talk about movie trailers, because there was a couple good ones that came out this week.
Yeah.
This was okay. So I know Ghostbusters 3 came out yesterday. I believe it was Monday, right?
Yeah, that's Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yes.
Also, that would be Ghostbusters 4, I think.
Okay, 4, whatever one we're on now. And then what was the other one?
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah, both of these look. I'll tell you. Okay, let's start with Ghostbusters real quick. When I first saw the teaser trailer or whatever it was for it when it came out, I was really underwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't know about this.
Well, yeah, because weren't you also sort of underwhelmed by Afterlife, where you're like, it's good, but like I thought you might have liked it with caveats.
I liked Afterlife. My issues with that were actually, it's kind of like your thing with Mark Wahlberg and Ted. My thoughts were trying to put together the timeline of Egon, breaking away from the Ghostbusters, having a daughter that's, close to late 30s and moving away. It like the timeline stuff was what kind of messed with my head.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, because it was like, boy, that's not a lot of time for her to put for all of these things to happen and make sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it was more of that, but boy, I saw that trailer for Frozen Empire, and I really dug it. I thought it looked really good.
It does look very good. And in addition to more classic Ghostbusters, Venkman being Venkman, even though Bill Murray's kind of a problem these days. Paul Rudd just being fantastic as well. Like that, oh man, that whole thing where he's like, something strange in your neighborhood. Who are you going to call? Oh, by the way, don't say it. Bustin' makes me feel good. Like, just Paul Rudd is slowly becoming a Ghostbusters MVP, and I am glad to be able to say that. Also, we saw the return of Walter Peck, and I think he might be mayor of New York now. Because
Yeah.
that looks odd. That looks like Lenny. Lenny. That looks like Lenny's office.
You could save the lives of millions of registered voters.
Registered voters.
By the way, I just stumbled across the international trailer for this.
I haven't watched it yet. I know, I think it was Kumail Nanjiani posted it the other night. He's like, yeah, it disappeared, but now it's back. It's totally different from the U.S. version.
Yeah, it's very different. I'm watching it without sound at the moment. I mean, there's some of the same imagery, but there's a fair amount of it that's different. Like they have the granddaughter of Egon,
Yeah,
playing chess again with nobody. So
ooh.
yeah. It's kind of crazy, but no, it looks cool. I'm more excited about this. This is coming soon.
March 19th, I want to say.
Oh, that's too far away. I need to see this now.
And the one thing that does interest me about this movie is the fact that so many people have pointed it out time and again. Ghostbusters was never really meant to be a franchise.
Yeah.
March 22nd, it's coming out. I think March 19th is Godzilla Kong. But yeah, like Ghostbusters was never planned or intended to be a franchise. And it's very interesting to see them sort of try to make that happen with these last two movies, because Ghostbusters 2 really was I love that movie. I might have watched it as much, if not more, than Ghostbusters 1, because I had 1 and 2. I had 1 on tape and 2 taped off of HBO. So like when Ghostbusters 1 broke, I just went to Ghostbusters 2 and kept watching that. It was a sequel, but it wasn't really something where it's like, yeah, we're trying to build out this future universe and all this other interconnected stuff. Like it was just new ghosts, same Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Whereas
it seemed like you had a great idea for one movie, and then it's like, oh, we got to make more.
Yeah, and even then, like if it was the next year, I think people might have been a little more forgiving, but I think it was like 6 years, 5 or 6 years, I want to say, between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, you know what's funny about it? I can remember as a kid, early elementary school, talking about them making another Ghostbusters with my friends.
Yeah.
Like I
remember talking about
because the cartoon was out. And I can remember one of my friends, I think it was my friend Doug Pogansky, saying, yeah, they're going to have the yellow beetle that opens up and there's a ghost inside it type stuff.
Now I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's another thing that's kind of been very interesting to track with Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, because there's been talk about, oh, we love the real Ghostbusters. I think it was Jason Reitman, the co-writer. Also, his father was Ivan Reitman, who helped create the Ghostbusters movies, directed the first 2. He directed Jason directed Afterlife. He was talking about how, oh, we love the real Ghostbusters. And I think they said that this new monster might be inspired by, if not pulled from, the real Ghostbusters sort of bestiary.
Okay.
And then bit of a problem with that in the fact that one of the writers of the original cartoon, J. Michael Straczynski, who's also known as the creator of Babylon 5, was like, yeah, they're not really, are they going to credit me? Because he was like a big time writer on that series. Like he wrote a lot of the episodes, created a lot of the lore, and I think some of the characters.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, I'm not being credited here, so I'm wondering what's going on here.
He had the whole, what the fuck?
Basically, and it just reminds me of the fact that one of his mentors, and to the point where he got the man to star on Babylon 5, was Harlan Ellison, who is a legendary sci-fi writer and curmudgeon. There is a clip of his that I love called "Pay the Writer," where he talks about the fact that they wanted him to do commentary for the Babylon 5 box set, and he's like, "Are you going to pay me? No. Are you going to send me a copy? Are you even going to send me a copy of the discs? No. Well, then what am I going to do this for?" And Harlan just has this wonderful rant. So I could see like the spirit of that man carrying through in this whole thing, where it's like, yeah, cool. You're recognizing our work as canon, but why not credit?
Oh, that's funny. Oh, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me. All right, so we got the Ghostbusters one. Let's shift gears. I can never get the name of the movie right. What's the other trailer we were talking about?
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
It's a long one, but it looks very cool. Like whoever put together, it's a Guy Ritchie one, right?
Oh, yes. This is Guy Ritchie reuniting with some folks, reuniting with Carrie Elwes after last year's Operation Fortune, reuniting with Henry Golding after being in The Gentleman, and reuniting with this guy you may have heard of, Henry Cavill.
Cavill's?
Henry Cavill, Weaselman? Yeah, Henry Cavill, who he worked with in last worked together in Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Real quick, Guy Ritchie movies have the best trailers, right?
They can. Like, I don't know if they always do, but they tend to have some really banger trailers, and usually the movies that follow live up to that as well. Like, you and I were riffing about this, and the fact that Another One Bites the Dust is just so perfectly worked into this trailer, where Henry Cavill's got like the big beard, the mustache. He's like making this wild face where he's sticking out his tongue and like firing a machine gun off. And it's like, I don't know what else.
He's sticking out his tongue like Jordan was dunking a basketball.
That's exactly because he's dunking on those Nazis with a machine gun.
But looks like a tremendous amount of violence in this. The synopsis,
oh, yeah.
The synopsis of the movie is, and I love it. Winston Churchill explaining the Nazis aren't playing fair and we aren't either.
Well, yeah, because this is actually based on, this is a real unit. Like, it was called the Special Operations Executive, but Churchill was basically formed like one of the first black ops units where it's like, you know what? The Nazis are invading Europe. We need to stop them by any means necessary, even if we have to set Europe ablaze. And it's like destroy the machinery, dirty tricks, sabotage, what have you. And this was a unit that not only had Ian Fleming among its members, Christopher Lee was also part of the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. So you're taking, like, there's a nonfiction book by the author Damian Lewis, not the actor from Billions and Band of Brothers. This is an author that spells his name with an E, not an A, if I remember correctly, like Damien with an E. But anyway, this is like taking true history and then just making a lot of fun with it. And it looks absolutely bonkers. That's going to be out on April 19th, and I'm ready. I am already ready to go see that.
By the way, is there a more badass human being than Christopher Lee?
I don't think there is. There might be some. I'm sure there's some. Like, there's others that could stand shoulder to shoulder with him on like an ultimate Avengers team. But that man saw so much history, was Ian Fleming's cousin, if I remember correctly, and has been credited as one of the inspirations for James Bond. And then just that whole Peter Jackson story. I love that, where it's like he basically taught Peter Jackson what it sounds like when you stab a man in the back. And it's like, yeah, Christopher Lee had that experience with Nazis.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. So this movie, going back to the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, looks tremendous.
Sign me I'm ready. And Guy Ritchie has been at a hell of a pace these last couple of years, because I know part of it was Operation Fortune was done, but it took a little while to shop it around and they pushed the release, because I think what some whispers were saying about Operation Fortune was they pushed the movie back over a year because of the fact that the Russia-Ukraine conflict erupted. And I think originally the villains were supposed to be Ukrainian, or they were supposed to, like, there was something connected to that conflict where it's like, okay, maybe we need to delay this movie. But he's been knocking them out and like throwing them into theaters. Like, he's already got another movie that he just finished filming with Henry Cavill's in this one too. I think it's called Gus. They'll probably change the title before it comes out, but I think it's called Gus for the moment. And like Isa Gonzalez from Godzilla vs. Kong, who's also in Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, she's in it too. He just signed on for like a Fountain of Youth movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and I think Natalie Portman.
Oh, we have to talk about something else. You just reminded me.
Oh, I know what we need to talk about. But yeah, Guy Ritchie, and then the Gentleman TV show comes out this year. And I'm excited to see that. But
Yeah.
yeah, Guy Ritchie, keep doing the thing. Let's hang out. Let's
Hang out. I don't know what you're doing this Friday, but Guy Ritchie, if you want to, go to Applebee's and,
okay.
grab a tall beer with me, that'd be pretty cool.
I am so mad I missed it, but when The Gentleman was coming around, I had something to do that weekend and I couldn't make it. The junket was basically people having drinks on camera with like Matthew McConaughey and Guy Ritchie and like all these other people that were in the movie. And not to mention, he has his own beer now, I think, or he's had his own beer, maybe a spirit, like I think it's called Gritchy Brew.
Okay.
But yeah, just Guy Ritchie's pretty damn awesome.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. That brings us to the end of our little talk this week, but we're not going without. We recorded a little early last week, and we didn't get to talk about a certain other movie trailer that came out. There had been rumor of this for a while, that we were going to get a new Roadhouse movie. And we finally got the Roadhouse. We finally got the trailer for it. What say you, Mike Reyes, about this new Roadhouse movie?
I'm just going to preface this with I've never seen the original, and it's not because of lack of interest. I haven't watched it. But the other day I saw a clip. I saw the clip where Patrick Swayze is explaining to his trainees where it's like, you be nice. You show them the door, like that whole shtick.
Yeah.
And I immediately know I need to watch this movie. Okay, we're going to put that aside. This new Roadhouse looks awesome.
This new Roadhouse looks stupid.
It looks like so much fun, but maybe that's just because I haven't seen the original. I think it looks like a lot of fun. But please explain to me why you think it looks stupid.
What's his name? What's the UFC guy in it?
Conor McGregor.
That looks so fake and overacted, and I couldn't take it serious. I'm like, oh, it's just Connor doing Connor things, but all right. Okay, the reason it looks
I'll give
dumb.
you that. I do see a potential for big ham and like misinterpreting the fact that the original was definitely campy, but not intentionally and not,
okay,
without charm.
Let me go back to the original, why this is a big deal to me. My boss for, about almost 14 years, Roadhouse was a big deal at our old radio station because of the scene you mentioned.
Yeah.
You be nice until I tell you it's time to not be nice.
It's such it's just such a perfect way of handling people, way of dealing with situations.
And God, did I hear so much about Patrick Swayze for 14 years. And listen, I love Roadhouse. I think it's a funny movie. Like campy is all get out. And in that stretch. But
with charm.
But it was Patrick Swayze, and it's like one of the I forget where it was, but they're like he carries around his medical files, and it was like a mystery science theater type thing. It's like, who carries around their medical files?
Someone that knows they're gonna get up.
It was like there are lame parts to it. It's like Point Break. Like I get it, but there's just a certain charm to it, right?
I might have to watch Point Break again because I remember watching it was like not terribly impressed, but maybe it was because I was like in a different phase of my life.
Maybe I don't know,
appreciate that stuff as much.
It's just one of those ones. It's like we didn't need a remake of Roadhouse. If you would have taken this movie and called it something else, someone would have gone, "Oh, it looks like a remake to Roadhouse or something," but they wouldn't compare it to the old one and what it was. It's
a mistake.
It's frustrating because Roadhouse holds such a special place in my heart, mostly because of that one scene and what, for 14 years, what it kind of meant to, my line of work. Because I don't know how many times it had to be bring up when, listen, in the world of radio, you get callers and people that, they drive you nuts. Okay. You're going to be nice until I tell you not to be nice, and it's just, God, it's hard to put it into words how much I don't want to see this movie.
Whereas I'm excited to watch it, but at the same time, you make a valid point because this is something that MGM has been doing this for almost 20 years now. I remember MGM has always been a studio that like frequently they've had problems where it's like, oh, we are having financial troubles. We might have to sell the studio.
Yeah.
And something that they've always valued in their back pocket is their catalog. And I remember, I think it was the mid-aughts. Like I found like a website of some sort, or it might have been one of their official websites where they're like, yeah, we want to do things with all of these properties. And it was like Pink Panther, Legally Blonde, some like all these classic properties that they have in their catalog. And they were basically announcing their intent for like everything from remakes and spin-offs to stage productions, all of which we've seen come to pass in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And Roadhouse seems to be falling into the same category as the Child's Play. I'll call it a reimagining because it's not really, doesn't feel like a reboot. It's not it's not really a remake because the whole thing is it's not voodoo anymore. It's a glitchy doll.
Yeah.
And you're not calling it a good guy doll anymore. You don't need to name it Chucky. You didn't need to name the movie Child's Play. But it was at the same time, I think MGM not only wants the brand recognition, they're afraid that people, like, without the title, they feel like they're damned if they do and they damned if they don't. Yeah, I mean, if you really could have called it something other than Child's Play, and you would have been fine. You could have called the doll something other than Chucky. They called it a Buddy doll. Just call it Buddy. It would have been fine.
Would have been fine.
But,
no, going back to the Roadhouse thing, though, I just have an emotional attachment to the old one, and I will say this: the Conor McGregor thing took me out of it because it seemed fake, and maybe that's just a part of the movie, and he'll have better acting skills, in the movie. I wish we would have seen that because it looks like one of those things. Like, am I supposed to take this serious, or is this a Saturday Night Live, clip of hey? Dropping Conor McGregor into the acting world.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
On top of, like you're not really seeing, you're seeing trailer cuts. You're not seeing what could potentially be the best cuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, go back to what we were talking about with the Guy Ritchie stuff. A lot of his trailers look really good, edited really good, they don't seem like a joke.
No, him and Matthew Vaughn, since they're in like a similar milieu and they're like from the same they're from the same generation of filmmaker, and I think they may have worked together as producers in the past, but those dudes are coming from the same sort of wheelhouse, and they know how to cut a trailer. They know how to get you really going.
And maybe it was the cut of the trailer too that aggravated me, but when he showed up in that trailer, I didn't see it as, oh my God, this guy, I'm so scared of this guy. It was, this is a joke, right?
Oh yeah, but it also doesn't help that Conor McGregor's personality outside of his vocation kind of is infamous enough that it draws attention. It's like when you drop Paris Hilton in House of Wax back in 2005. They basically had to sell that movie on killing Paris Hilton off in a horror movie.
Just a wonderful, wonderful marketing tool there.
Literal T-shirts that said "See Paris Die."
Oh, it's good. So, anyways. Real quick, wrap it up.
Oh, yeah. Just going to wrap it up with that's not the only problem Roadhouse has, because the director, Doug Liman, also known for movies like Edge of Tomorrow, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Bourne Identity, he skipped the South by Southwest premiere, if I remember correctly, because of the fact that this is going straight to Prime. This is not going to theaters.
Ooh.
And this is, Amazon bought MGM not too long ago, so they basically get to control certain things. But yeah, they decided to send Roadhouse straight to Amazon, which will be on what day is that coming out? It will be out on March 21st on Amazon Prime, but it will be premiering at South by Southwest on March 8th. And the director is not going to the South by Southwest premiere. And just remember, Ronda Rousey was supposed to star in this originally.
Oh, God. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every week on the show to talk about movies. We'll leave it there for this week. Mike, you have a good one, okay?
Yeah, I mean, no time travel. I get to stretch my legs this week. This is good. I like this.